Some developing news today in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. The Judicial Service Commission has recommended that the presiding judge in the case, Tshifiwa Maumela, be suspended. Judges Maumela and Nomonde Mngqibisa-Thusi are accused of failing to deliver reserved judgments in a reasonable time. At the same time, Bongani Ntanzi, one of the accused, has been denied bail. He appeared briefly at the Gauteng High Court earlier today. eNCA's Silindelo Masikane is following that story for us. She joins us live now. Sli, on the developing news, the Judicial Service calling for suspension of Judge Tshifiwa Maumela. What is he accused of?
Well, I think you've summed it up quite nicely there in the introduction, Anli. In essence, he and another judge, according to the Judicial Service Commission, following some complaints, they've looked into the matter in terms of reserved judgments by these two judges that aren't being delivered timelessly, meaning that the parties in those matters are essentially being denied justice. So they have flagged these concerns. They believe that if they are correct in terms of their findings so far, then this obviously amounts to not only gross misconduct but also negligence on their part, and so they will be sending a recommendation to President Cyril Ramaphosa to suspend the two judges. I spoke to the presidency spokesperson Vincent Magwenya this afternoon. At this point, that recommendation has not landed on the president's desk, but once it does, obviously then the president will have to consider it, and from the legal experts we've spoken to, this is going to take a little bit of time. It's not something that's that's going to be quick in terms of perhaps making a decision. You don't just suspend judges on a whim, and also the JSC is going to set up a tribunal to continue with the investigations, and from what we understand, the two judges, if suspended, will still be able to continue to preside over cases that they're presiding over at the moment. That suspension will not affect perhaps, for example, the Senzo Meyiwa trial, which is expected to resume next week.
On that trial, what took place today in court when murder-accused Bongani Ntanzi appeared at the Gauteng High Court?
A brief appearance, but one that I guess he's been waiting for at least 7 months now. Bongani Ntanzi applied to be released on bail in October of 2022, and this is after he spent some 2 years already in incarceration following his arrest in connection with Senzo Meyiwa's death in June of 2020. He told the court that he had never been given an opportunity to apply for bail, and so was going to take this opportunity now to try and be released. But according to the court, in particular Deputy Judge President Aubrey Ludwaba, he believes that Ntanzi simply didn't present enough exceptional circumstances to be released on bail, or that the interests of justice permits his release on bail, saying that his application was simply too weak. He only submitted an affidavit which had some inconsistencies or contradictions, as well as the fact that he only brought his brother to come and testify for him on his behalf. Another issue that was flagged was the fact that Ntanzi doesn't have an address, or should I say the police were struggling to verify an address for him in Gauteng that would allow him to be able to be released and attend the trial at the same time. So Judge Ludwaba then dismissed his application, and you could see that Ntanzi was visibly disappointed. Let's take a listen.
In this matter, the state did not place any evidence before the court either opposing the application for bail or in rebuttal of the applicant's denial of the commission of the offences with which he had been charged. Yeah, I'm quoting what has been said in this case that I'm quoting. The court went further to say it would appear that the state had adopted this line of approach on the assumption that the appellant had all to do in order to succeed with his bail with his application for bail. Now, in this case before me, having considered the evidence before me, I'm satisfied that the applicant has not discharged the onus to prove exceptional circumstances, that exceptional circumstances exist, and that it would be in the interest of justice to grant bail. Will you please stand up? The application for bail is dismissed.
Slee, what happens next in this trial?
Well, what we are expecting is for the trial to continue next week on Tuesday, the 2nd of May, when we took a postponement last year, a 6-month postponement. What we were expecting was the state to call its new witness, somebody else who was in the house the night Senzo Meyiwa was shot and killed. So the expectation is that we will be resuming with a new witness in the box, and that accused 3 and 4 also have new legal representation who, from what we understand, doesn't need time to familiarize themselves with the case, and has told the state that they will be ready to proceed. So on the 2nd of May, that's what we are expecting. But of course, we also will be watching quite closely the developments around Judge Tshifiwa Maumela.
Well, thank you very much, eNCA senior reporter Silindelo Masikane, bringing us that story.